welcome to today's episode of the Simply Financial Podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Calandra. Want to increase your financial IQ with today's discussion about the three phases of retirement. So I'm going to use some terminology that I don't think people outside of financial planners sort of use, but I think you'll see that it's applicable for you to think about, even if you're not a financial geek like I am. So the three phases of retirement are number one, go-go, number two, slow-go, and number three, no-go. So this is a generality I'm speaking about. But in phase one, the go-go phase, it's, of course, the initial phase of retirement. And usually, again, I'm speaking in generalities, usually you're in good health. There are pent-up things that you want to do, travel, hobbies, donate your time. It tends to be a period of a lot of activity. This activity often comes with higher spending as people check off, excuse the cliche, but their bucket list items. And they're really trying to live retirement to the fullest. So that's phase one, the go-go phase. Now, for some people, they kind of get cheated out of the go-go phase because maybe health reasons, maybe money constraints. For others, the go-go period may last for quite a while, but that's phase one. A lot of times at some point, folks move to phase two, slow go. This phase is where you tend to slow down a bit. You have a reduction in high intensity activities that could be health related. It could just be that previous chapter ran its course. It tends to be a little bit more of a relaxed. The slow go period tends to be a more relaxed period. And part of this, that pent up demand to do stuff in the go-go phase has kind of exhausted itself. Health decline is often a factor during the slow go phase. Doesn't have to be, but it's pretty common. There's sometimes limitations in physical activities that were not present in the go-go phase. And along with this, you find oftentimes that spending stabilizes or even decreases some. Compared to the go-go phase, it's a little bit more of a settled, calmer phase. So that's phase two. Phase three is no-go. It's also called the dependent years. This is when usually retirees face some significant health limitations where they might need more care, might need more assistance. Expenses, specifically healthcare expenses, may go up. In the absence of increased health expenses, other expenses usually go down because this is a phase where there's less travel, less activity, less doing stuff, especially compared to the go-go phase. This phase is marked by a shift to maintaining comfort, quality of life, and getting the needed support, whatever that means. As I said a moment ago, these three phases are uneven and are individual to a person or a couple's life experience. But it's a good general rule to go by. And why this is important is when you're planning for retirement, sometimes planners and or retirees think that whatever happens in the first year is going to be linear, where it's going to be like that year in and year out. But if you think about it, life is much messier than that. There are going to be unknowns that you can't predict. Some of those things may be wonderful. Some may not be good. They may even be bad. I know in my experience in thinking about these three phases, go-go, slow-go, no-go, I think about my parents. And they really followed this track pretty well. My dad's 78 now. My mom just turned 76. And when they retired, they were very much in the go-go phase. They went on cruises. They traveled. They took full advantage of that go-go phase. And then with some life changes, some of it related to my dad's health, and some of it I think just related to running its course. How many more cruises did they want to go on compared to during the go-go phase? There was a shift, not just health oriented, but I think just an evolution of lifestyle. They entered into the slow go phase. More recently, I would say over the last maybe 4 or 5 years, they've entered into the no-go phase. Now, they still live, mind you, a healthy life. They have a good social life. They do things in their community, but they tend to spend most nights at home. And I think they're in the no-go phase, although it's not an awful phase, far from it, but it's certainly different than the previous two phases. Another example are my in-laws. Now, I've been married for 27 years, so I've known them a very long time. They've been blessed. Their go-go phase has lasted for quite a while. I'm not even convinced they even transitioned to the slow go phase just yet. And my in-laws are a little older than my parents, so their retirement evolution has been somewhat different. They have enjoyed the go-go phase, or maybe a combination of go-go and slow go, a little longer than my parents. Although in contrast, I don't think they did the go-go phase as hard as my parents did in the early going. So that's a consideration. And the last example I'll give is my aunt, who I am very, very close with. She went through these phases pretty consistent with what you would expect. Her and her husband had a very, very strong go-go phase. They traveled the world. They did some amazing experiences. And then they entered into the slow go phase. Unfortunately, my uncle Lenny passed away some years ago. And with that, my aunt went into an even slower slow go phase, and more recently has transferred into the no go phase. She still lives a nice life, still has a high quality of life, but it's certainly different than the previous two phases. So the three phases of retirement: go, slow go, no go, they are good to have an awareness of as you plan for and move into retirement. If you're working with an advisor or a professional and this is not part of the discussion as you're planning out your finances for retirement, you might want to bring that up, or even better, reach out to us, because our awareness of this these phases of retirement, I think, allows us to do some excellent planning for our clients. So thanks for listening to today's episode of the Simply Financial Podcast. I always ask, please subscribe to the podcast if you haven't done so already. Recommend it to someone. And if you're interested in the work that we do here at Elliott Wealth Management, go to the website, www.elliottwealth.com. You could get more information about me, the team, how we work with our clients, how we help them win with money. Thanks for listening. I'll be back with you on the next episode of the Simply Financial Podcast very soon.
The views expressed are not necessarily the opinion of SagePoint Financial Incorporated and should not be construed directly or indirectly as an offer to buy or sell any securities mentioned herein. Investing is subject to risks, including loss of principal invested. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. No strategy can assure a profit nor protect against loss. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information should be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Please note the information being provided is strictly as a courtesy. When you link to any of the websites provided here, you are leaving this website. We make no representation as to the completeness or accuracy of the information provided at these websites, nor is the company liable for any direct or indirect technical or system issues or any consequences arising out of your access to your use of third-party technologies, websites, information, and programs made available through this website. When you access one of these websites, you are leaving our website and assume total responsibility and risk for your use of the websites you are linking to. Securities and advisory services are offered through SagePoint Financial Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC. Insurance services offered through Elliott Wealth Management, LLC, not affiliated with SagePoint Financial.